Hey everyone, Doug and PA back with a quick hour-long live stream. I found this article. It's one of the best articles I've ever found. And so this this live stream is going to be about women have accepted trans women as women, right? So we all know about the whole Leah Thomas thing. There've been a bunch of there's this female cyclist these female cyclists who have won a bunch of women's cycling events, right? Now, this is women's fault, man. Okay? Women have been more accepting than men on this issue. Now, Doug and PA stance, if you're, whatever you want to identify as, whatever, I don't have a problem with that. It's just I don't like when biological men are playing in sports against women because it's an unfair advantage. Okay, your personal life, do whatever, but when it comes to professional athletes, these are people that live, eat, sleep, and make money off of competition. Like, and every single advantage counts. Like, you just can't have people that went through puberty as a man playing against women. So this live stream, this article is from a woman who says that women are now asking men to defend women's spaces all of a sudden. Now when you see opportunities being taken away from women, now all of a sudden they're saying, hey, men, you need to protect us. It doesn't work that way, guys, because as this article is going to state, men have had our spaces taken away since the 70s. Feminist women have trailblazed their way into men's spaces, and now a lot of these women want men to save their spaces. It doesn't work that way. Nope, sorry. So, this really got put on my radar when I saw this little clip here. From this comedian named Jess Hilarious. Now, I don't like her at all. She's never been funny, but this is what she said. And this is kind of what recently really sparked the conversation here.
Born with
Okay, hold on. Real quick.
all the parts that
Hold on.
you guys wish that you were.
I gotta rewind this.
Who the fuck is gonna stand up for us? Who the fuck stands up for us? And us, I mean women, real women, biological women, women who were born with all the parts that you guys wish that you were. When does the delusion stop? What is the difference between you and someone who has been diagnosed to be mentally insane?
So at the beginning of this, she said, "Who's going to stand up for us? Who's going to stand up for us?" And guys, I would argue, guys, it's not our responsibility as men. It's not. I've never met a guy who's completely down with this whole, like for women going into, trans women going into men's sports, any of that. But no one cares about what us guys have to say about this. Women are so quick to be like, women have wanted to be inclusive for so long that now this issue comes up and they want to pump the brakes. No, ladies, you asked for it, you got it.
What's the only difference is you don't have a straight jacket on. Stop talking out your fucking ass. Wake up. How are you projecting your anger on real women? Because we are the gatekeepers. We are the gatekeepers for periods. We the only one that fucking bleed, honey. We the only ones that can give birth. We make y'all people. We make y'all. Y'all come from us. You can't be us. You will never. You're chasing something you'll never, ever get.
So, yeah, that got her in trouble a lot. But you see a lot of this stuff on social media now. Women asking, who's going to protect, quote unquote, biological women? Who's going to protect us? Well, not us, guys. Not us. It's not your responsibility, guys. If these women want to be inclusive. Let them include everybody. Sorry. I'm going to bring up another example. That one, the swimmer, the girl that lost out on opportunities because of that swimmer. She was on the news, and we're going to look at her.
My next guests are sounding the alarm and say they're taking steps to protect women's rights. Joining me now, Carrie Lucas, president of the Independent Women's Forum, and Riley Gaines, former University of Kentucky swimmer who competed against transgender athlete Leah Thomas. Thank you both for being here. Carrie, are these shifting definitions facilitating discrimination against biological women?
Absolutely. It really is important when you're talking about the importance of language, particularly when it comes to matters of law. The word woman is used more than 200 times in the Violence Against Women Act alone. It really matters if we know what these words are. And the women have had to fight very hard to have equal opportunity, not just in sports, but equal protection when it comes to the workplaces, to a lot of places. And it's really a problem if we're suddenly eroding this word woman, and also this common understanding of what it means to be equal and have equal opportunity.
Carrie, a trans activist, Javon Ojeda, responded to your efforts, telling Politico this trend of trying to define what gender and sex is not a new one. What's new now is that they're pushing or trying to push it in a legal sense. These women's rights bills are not about women's rights. People define women in different ways. Carrie, your response, and what are you trying to do in these state legislatures?
Yeah, we're just trying to make sure that we have a common language to talk about.
And that's never going to happen, guys. It's the gray area that keeps this whole thing going. And this conversation needs to stay between women like this. Let the conversation stay with women, guys. It's not your response. Well, you know what? Okay, I'm gonna dial it back. It's your responsibility if you have daughters, sisters, and stuff like that. But I'm talking overall as a concept. You have to protect those closest to you. As a man, you have to be able to do that. But in my opinion, this is a conversation that women have to have. Women started this conversation that, on a national level, and the consciousness of pop culture. Women are going to have to finish it.
We're promoting something called the Women's Bill of Rights, and all this would do is make sure that we know what the word woman is, to actually define it, and define it as based in biology, so that we know what the word female is, male, men, women, and so that we know that all of the laws that are on the books, that we're having a common language. And if somebody wants to, if there's policymakers out there who want to include male-bodied people who identify as trans or identify as women, they can do that, but they have to do it with different language. We can't just suddenly redefine the word woman to be essentially meaningless, which is what...
And who redefined all that language? Women did, not guys. Now, once again, a lot of politicians are men, and they want the female vote because they know that women vote more than men. Women are easier to manipulate a lot of the times. So, I do have to put some of the blame on some of us guys. We're not completely innocent in this.
What it is when you say, hey, who cares? It's whatever you think it is. And anybody who wants to use the word woman, that becomes a woman. That isn't fair to women. It's not fair to women who want to have safe places and equal opportunity.
Riley, you were an NCAA competitive swimmer. Do women have equal access to sports when the courts and the government are forcing them to compete with biological men as you did?
Women wanted this, though, and they got it.
Absolutely not. This is taking us back to the 1970s, to before Title IX. And that's what I think is the left is not understanding. They think this is progressive. They think we're moving in the forward direction. But this is taking us back half a century. It's regressive. It's not moving anything forward. It's taking us backwards.
Riley, you tied Leah Thomas for first place in the NCAA Division I championship. Here's how Leah reacted.
How does it make you feel when you think
Okay, I I'm not gonna watch the rest of this because this whole Leah Thomas thing is such a blatant. It's so blatant and so obvious. So we're just gonna get into this article and we're gonna go over the whole thing because this article is fantastic. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. It's just you support me and what I'm doing over here. And therefore, this is a fantastic article. We're gonna go through it and make sure to let me know if you're watching this, afterwards, what you think about it in the comments, and let's go through it in the chat, guys, because this is fantastic. It says, okay, here it is. Okay. Oops. Okay. Men's spaces were colonized by feminists first. Ken for Julian in the house. Rage Gamer in the house. Ken for Julian in the house. Look at this headline, guys. Men's spaces were colonized by feminists first by Janise Fiamingo. We're going to go through this whole article, guys, because it's fantastic. I've read it twice already. There has been a good deal of talk lately about women's spaces being invaded by biological male persons identifying as a woman. Some women campaigners claim that the trans phenomenon constitutes an attack on womanhood itself, an attempt to erase women and replace them with men who perform womanhood. Some even call it a new form of, you're going to see this word, patriarchy. But well before women had their single sex spaces threatened, something similar had already happened to men. Beginning in the 1970s, men's spaces were usurped, their maleness was denigrated, and policies and laws forced change in male behavior that turned many workplaces into feminized fiefdoms in which men held their jobs only so long as women allowed them to. I told you guys, this article is no joke. This is great. And this is written by a woman. The very idea of an exclusive male workplace or club, especially if it was a space for socializing, not so much if it was a sewer, oil field, or shop floor in which men did unpleasant, dangerous work, came to be seen as dangerous. In light of the recent furor over single-sex spaces for women, it is useful to consider the source of men's justifiable apathy and resentment. Why should we try to help women fight for their spaces when they took all of ours? Why? Guys, on a national scale, it's not our fight. It's not. Protect the women closest to you. But women created this problem. They're going to have to fix it. At my new academic job in the late 1990s, a woman who had been the first female historian hired into her department used to tell a story she had passed on to her from a male colleague. After the decision had been made to hire her, one of the historians said to another somewhat dolefully, "I guess that's the end of our meeting in the urinal." The joke ruefully acknowledged and good-naturedly accepted the end of their all-male work environment. Though this woman didn't have any trouble with her male colleagues, she welcomed her civilly. She told the story with an edge of contempt. Even thoroughly modern men, the story suggested, held a foolish nostalgia for pre-feminist days. But was it foolish, or did the men recognize something real? No one thought seriously then about the disappearance of men's single-sex spaces. The idea that men and boys need places where they can be with other men, defended, for example, in Jack Donovan's The Way of Men, would have been cause amongst the women I knew for scornful laughter. In 2018, anti-male assumptions had become so deeply entrenched that the female author of The Guardian article titled Men Only Clubs and Menace, How the Established Maintains Male Power, simply could not believe that any decent man could legitimately seek out male-only company. This is crazy. And here's the thing. Why do you think men will never look up to a woman and say, you know, young boys will never look up to Hillary Clinton and be like, you know, I want to be like her when I grow up. Men from young boys, we know that a woman's experience is different from ours. Also, young boys playing video games now more than ever. You want to know why? Because the last holdout for young men to be young men is video games. Competition. They have leaderboards playing online. You can talk trash online. Little boys can't do that at home or their mom's going to yell at them. They can't do it at school because their teacher's a woman and their teacher's going to yell at them. They got to sit there and be quiet like girls. But not online. You can put that headset on, talk trash, say you're the best, find out who's the best, like boys have done for generations, like men have done for generations. Male spaces are needed, just like women's spaces are. And I don't understand how you have women arguing for freaking female spaces, but can't accept the fact that that men need spaces too. I don't understand it. The story of women's appropriation of male space has almost always been presented as an unqualified good. It's like I think it was in Japan or Korea where like, oh yeah, in Japan where they have women only train cars and women only parking spots. What? Anyway, implicit in the story is the assumptions that the male species did not offer anything positive. On the contrary, they were alleged to be harmful by their nature to both women and men, though especially to women. If men's needs were mentioned, which they usually weren't, it was alleged that men would only benefit through contact with women's much touted, listen to this guys, superior empathy, team building, and communication skills. How often have we heard this, that women are more empathetic? You know, women are more about diversity and inclusion. Women are more about teamwork and more collaborative. This is what we've heard since I entered the workforce, guys. An article from Sports History Weekly showcases the stark clarity of the standard narrative. In 2018, an article titled "Locker Rooms Open Up to Female Journalists" told of the victory achieved 40 years previously when, in 1978, a federal judge ruled that women reporters could not be barred from interviewing professional sports players inside the locker room. And you can see it. There have been plenty of times where there are NBA players, football players in the locker room and they have to and there are women around. Why is this? But you know what, guys? We just accepted it and we moved on. Ray James said, well, the women only trains are to prevent groping, and those cars switch up to everyone at specific times of the day. But you know what? Are women equal or not? Are you strong and independent or not? Because you know what? With the current narrative, Reggie Gamer, I don't think the women should have any kind of advantageous treatment under the law. If the guys in the community wanna let women have their own train car, well then let them. But this whole thing where it's legislated by law that men can't be on a certain train car at a certain time, nah, bro. No, not under the law. Men and women are equal under the law. Sorry, that's just my position. The history of female reporters' entry into men's change rooms was framed as a triumph of women's professional dedication over male chauvinism. one of the first two journalists to interview hockey players in the post-game locker room in 1975, is said to have asserted admirably, if a trifle insincerely, I'm not the story, the game is the story. So you have guys undressing out of their freaking professional uniforms, taking showers and stuff, and women are walking around interviewing these guys. It's crazy. Indeed, the picture chosen to accompany story shows the reporter bent over her notepad, unselfconsciously focused on recording the story. Close by her side, a man, scantily clad in his briefs, is just getting to his feet, but the reporter's attention does not waver. The message of the picture seemed undeniable. Skilled female professionals pose no sexual or other threat to male players, so only an old prude or a sexist boor would deny women access. And I guarantee you male reporters can't go into female changing rooms, as they shouldn't. But it's the expectation that guys have to walk around. Anyway, prudish was the image presented of Bowie Kuhn, Major League Baseball commissioner, who had tried unsuccessfully to stem the tide of progress. When he prevented individual baseball teams from allowing women to report inside players' dressing rooms, one of the reporters, Melissa Ludke, took him to court and won, you guys. Did you guys know any of this? I had no idea. By the late 1970s, traditional notions of decency and propriety under By the late 1970s, traditional notions of decency and propriety under concerted attack for years didn't count for much in a liberated world. If any men were made uncomfortable by the presence of women in their changing rooms, their concerns were not even entertained. Not even entertained, you guys. You're supposed to just deal with women in the locker room with the risk of them seeing your freaking garbage, guys. No women's group or feminist advocate seems to have objected either. In the pre-trans 1970s, most women were unfazed by the prospect of being the lone woman amidst high testosterone, near-naked men, and feminist activists saw no disadvantage to women in minimizing the fact of sex difference. The locker room triumph became a paradigm for the equality movement of the 1970s and 1980s as male bastions fell one by one. Once again, you guys remember the Flintstones when Fred and Barney used to go to the lodge with the blue hats on? Remember that? Those don't even exist anymore. The male lodges. Now there's some that are religious, like you still see the Knights of Columbus and all that stuff like that. But even they have women there. There are no true, besides gaming online, guys. Put in the chat any all male spaces in your life as you can think of. I'll wait. Put one. Anyone? And back to the online gaming thing. Women, as a majority, don't like video games, especially first-person shooters and competitive play online. There's such a small minority. Action movies, sci-fi movies, and all these companies keep trying to make these genres and these media friendly for women. Why? While alienating their original audience. Why are they making, all this stuff that guys like, inclusive to other people to the point where guys don't like it anymore? That's why you see those videos of, a guy's playing online and a girl's there. He's like, "Are you a girl?" And like, "Oh my God, I can't believe it." It's because girls, it's such a small percentage of girls who play Call of Duty online. And not only that, but if you're gonna be with the boys playing online, you have to adapt to the culture. We live in a time now where people, especially women, will go to a workplace or go to a place and expect the culture to bend around them. No. The idea that men might claim any space as their own came to seem almost overnight an ugly relic of bygone times, as states and cities in quick succession took steps to prohibit male-only businesses or clubs. The coup de grace came in 1987 when, in response to a lawsuit by the Rotary Club of California, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that it was perfectly constitutional to ban sex discrimination in business-oriented private clubs, making clear that women's interests outweighed men's. Boom. Okay. Finding that the Rotary Club's evidence fails to demonstrate that admitting women will affect any significant way the existing members' ability to carry out activities, the Supreme Court judgment went further to clarify that even if the act does work some slight infringement on members' rights, that infringement is justified by the state's compelling interest in eliminating discrimination against women and in assuring them equal access to public accommodations, guys. The latter interest extends to the acquisition of leadership skills and business contracts. So once again, it may infringe on some guys' enjoyment of a place, but that's not as important as women being there. That's what this Unruh Act was. By the late 1980s, eliminating discrimination had essentially been broadened in law to mean equal access by women to anything positive men had made that women now wanted, including the networking opportunities and associations men had built over decades. Once again, lodges, the type of lunches that men would go on to network, all male business meetings between male executives and CEOs, all gone, guys, all gone. As male only spaces were being equalized, affirmative action and equity hiring initiatives saw women's numbers swelling in formerly male majority domains such as newsrooms, courthouses, legislators, boardrooms, government offices, and university classrooms. Guys, newsrooms. I think like 60% of news anchors are women now. 54% of judges, lawyers, paralegals are women now. 50 some odd percent of university professors are women. Let me look that up real quick so I'm not lying to you. What percentage of professors are women? Yep. So, yeah. 49.8% are women and 50.2% are men. So, they're close. Oh, where did my... 1 second, you guys. 1 second. Okay. I don't disagree with you, Doug. I was putting context about the trains. I say get boys in the girls. I say get boys in the Girl Scouts and sell their cookies, but I get the do from Keebler anyway. Hey, I always appreciate you being here, Ragey Gamer. Anyway, by the 1980s, female universities were already at par with and soon to surpass their male colleagues, while female lawyers, doctors, and business owners were flooding into once majority male fields. The 2 decades demonstrated the relative ease with which women were established a dominant presence in a formerly man's world. It had been male. It had been male because men had built it. This is a key statement right here. Men built the world, guys. We all know it. The people who laid down the concrete for the roads, every single house built. The people in the sewers, the people pumping the gas, all the people in the supply chain management, they freaking bring food to the grocery stores, all men. And women are not doing these jobs. They're not doing what's necessary. 46% of men are in some kind of infrastructure job. And every single hard job, carpentry, sewer workers, mail workers, are like 90% men. And women want to be included in these spaces. In North America, men had within living communal memory hewn civilization out of the wilderness, building roads, bridges, mills, farms, centers of trade, industries, sewer lines, and the electrical grid, establishing law, a police force, a judiciary, a military, markets, hospitals, food processing plants, and centers of learning. These were all built and designed by men. They had invented labor-saving technologies and had built highly complex city systems. They had done it because that's what men do. And guys, this is written by a woman. Not as an act of exclusion, but because, as Roy Baumeister argues persuasively, system building and empire building appeal to the male mind, and that is 100% true. Guys, we conquer, we achieve, we protect, we achieve, we protect for our families, for our community. Men, we are the only ones where we will learn a trade, do everything we can, go to college, achieve, to get married and have kids. In essence, accepting a role that you will be giving everything you've gained to other people for the rest of your life. And women will not do this, guys. They will not. That's one of the reasons why the housing market is so messed up. I did a video on my channel where 123,000 more single women own homes than single men. And the problem with that is that a man buys a house and says, you know what? I can marry a woman and have children. I can put a family in this house. Women will not do that. So many women are putting themselves in a position where if they were a man, they would be a provider for a family. But women will achieve as much of a man, but will not put themselves in the provider role, because providers have to give everything they have for the rest of their lives. It says, women had been laboring too, of course, bringing children into the world and managing household economies until the late 19th century and later. And only then in urban centers, it had hardly been possible for women to work alongside men in significant numbers. It's not clear that men were under any moral obligation to admit women to their spaces they had made theirs. Many men have never felt at home in feminine domestic spaces. It's because we're men. And if men had wanted to, they could have resisted women's call for equal access. For the most part, however, men welcomed and supported women's professional and business advancement. And that's the thing, like, there's been this revisionist history, guys, where whenever women talk about the past, women were forced to be in the home, and women couldn't work, and women this and women that. And I take that, I just can't believe that it was as bad as some of these women make it out to be. And I'm going to pull the race card out here just real quick. I don't do it very often, but especially when I hear white women saying this. Because on my channel, I say that white American women and white women in the West are the most dangerous demographic on the planet. They're the only group who can play every single piece on the chessboard. They can be damsels in distress. They can be strong and independent. They can be boss babes. They can be housewives. And most of all, a white woman can be married to a white man, enjoy all the benefits of being with that white man while calling him an oppressor at the same time. Who else can pull that magic trick? Anyway, okay, I'm putting the race card away right now. Okay, The women's movement, however, not content with measurable gains, was unable to rest until every vestige of the old order had been destroyed. Feminists' next step was to discover that workplaces were not always perfectly welcoming. Some women didn't like their bosses or the men they work with. Some felt uncomfortable with men's sense of humor or manners. With the help of policymakers and legislators, feminists created an arsenal of rules designed to empower working women under the guise of protecting them from harassment and hostile environments. You see the sorcery going on here, guys? This is like the reality stone. Over freaking like 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. But the legislation was always about more than that. The very style of work life was forced to change under the new dispensation. In particular, every interaction between men and women, including even such minutiae as eye contact, gestures, and compliments, was placed under the regulatory and oft punitive regime of anti-harassment legislation, which Daphne Patai had chronicled as a chaotic pursuit of a sanitized environment in which the beast of male sexuality at long last be vanquished. Any man who fell afoul of the elastic and subjective rules or was merely claimed to have done so could see his reputation and career destroyed. And we saw that a lot in the last 7 years. Such policy and legislative changes, many of them undermining commitments to due process and the presumption of innocence, could never have been implemented were it not for the bedrock belief that male spaces were associated, as in locker room talk, with sexual menace, the degradation of women, and men's corruption of one another. There it is, guys. And how many women do you know operate with this belief? That if a bunch of us guys get together, it's going to be chaos. Any type of male empowerment, any type of collaborative effort between men is demonized. Anyone speaking for male interests is demonized. They're taking it that far. The belief is at least as old as the feminist movement itself, having galvanized the radical suffragettes who called for votes for women and chastity for men. Women, of course, allegedly lacking power and the killer instinct, never needed to be monitored or restrained, never encouraged one another in bad behavior, and would never abuse the destructive license harassment legislation had given them. We all know that's not true, because once again, when men get power, we try to do what's best for everybody. Women operate on their own selfish desires. One of the sayings on my channel, guys, when men win, everyone wins. When women win, they win for themselves. Modern women want a successful, competitive man to get into, to commit to this woman and then set aside all of his wants, desires, and ambitions to help her with her selfish goals. That is the motivation of the modern women, guys. I'm going to say that again. When men win, everyone wins. When women win, they win for themselves. Modern women want a successful, competitive man to commit to her and her only, and help her achieve her own selfish desires. You have to be careful, guys. Never lose sense of your purpose. Always do what's best for yourself, because as a man, usually what's best for you is what's best for everybody around you at the same time. Men operate in a way where our success benefits everybody around us the majority of the time. It wasn't surprising that even the Boy Scouts of America, once the byword of decency, modesty, and rectitude, could not be allowed to stand. The most famous feminist organization in the United States, the National Organization for Women, now pulled out all the feminist stops in a 2017 press release that championed the demand for the admission of a 15-year-old girl. Now called on the federal government to prohibit any federal support for the Boy Scouts until the organization ended its discriminatory ban against girls. Naturally, now did not lobby the Girl Scouts to let boys in, because of course not. with the result that there are now 2 scout organizations in the country, one that boasts of equal access and one that touts the special advantage to girls of a female-only space. I am going to drop the link because we're almost done with the article, and if anyone wants to come up and talk about this subject, let me know. Just hit the link, because once again, this article is called "Men's Spaces Were Colonized by Feminists First," and this is talking about a lot of women are trying to call on men to defend their spaces against trans women, and this article is arguing that, sorry ladies, it's going to be a tough sell because men lost their spaces first. We lost our spaces first. Interviewed about whether the Girl Scouts of America had changed in the wake of the opening of Boy Scouts, the CEO of the Girl Scouts expressed her conviction that there are very few opportunities for girls to be in a single gender space where they can rely on one another, build relationships with one another, be themselves, not have to compete for space, not have to show off in any kind of different way. So men don't deserve this chance either. And also, you guys know that boys do better in all boys schools. Test scores for boys in all boys schools, results in life are better for boys when they're at an all boys school. Imagine that. It is difficult to avoid incredulity that so few in our culture seem able to understand that single-sex spaces might be just as necessary for boys, or even more necessary in a feminized culture that actively dislikes boys and seeks to make them subordinate to their female peers. And this is exactly what's going on, guys. Is it not? Many men happy in the company of women, and fortunate, at least for the time being, and their circumstances, have adjusted to the feminist new normal. For other men, however, the erosion of male space has left them uneasy and justifiably angry. Now, after years of forced accommodation to feminine norms and requirements, men are expected to rise up in defense of female spaces, allegedly against a renewed patriarchy. The gall of the women who demanded this male support, regardless of the willingness of many men to give it, seems boundless. Guys, once again, women were so inclusionary that they set this whole thing of, trans women going into female sports, trans women women asked for this. I've never met a guy in my life who said, I think that biological men should play in women's sport. I've never heard that. But guys, we haven't been given a voice in this. No one cares what we have to say. And all the guys in office want to keep women votes, so they're not going to say anything. And now all of a sudden, oh my God, we didn't know this would have happened. We didn't know. Don't come knocking to us, guys. You have to protect the women in your life. Protect your daughters, sisters, mothers, cousins, all the aunties. But this is not our fight, guys. I'm to the point now where, you know what? There aren't going to be any trans men coming into men's sports and taking over. So I'm to the point now where, hey, let them. If trans women are women, like you see a lot of women saying, well, then, you know what? Let them play sports. It's just sad because, once again, I can talk into this microphone all I want, but women aren't going to listen to me. And they're not going to listen to you either, guys. Am I wrong about this? I don't think I am. You're going to see more Leah Thomases, although you have seen a little bit a pushback, because I know that some sports organizations have passed ordinances where biological males can't compete with biological females. But, until there are rules across the board, they're going to keep this case-by-case basis, and every case against the popular narrative of letting trans women into female spaces is going to be challenged all the way up to the top. And once again, guys, I don't know this whole diversity, equity, inclusion thing. Women had no idea what this was going to bring about, guys. They had no idea. And I think that even when they had an idea, they didn't want to seem, they didn't want to go against the grain. They didn't want to be the one person who was like, hey, guys, wait a minute. This isn't fair. They didn't want to do that. And look where they are now. There should be male-only spaces. And it's sad that young boys have to go. Think about, and even when biology dictates that there needs to be male-only spaces. You see, there was some football player that was a woman who played in like one play in a football game, and she wasn't a kicker. Like, oh yeah, she was the first football player who played in a game that wasn't a kicker. And it was like in the fourth quarter, the last minute, and she sacked some quarterback, with the help of another guy. So if you put a woman in with these men in the NFL, they're going to get seriously hurt. Did you guys know that in women's soccer, because of the way that women's hips are shaped, women are more likely to have knee problems and blow their ACL and LCLs out. Did you guys know that? In fact, let me look at that real quick. Because you guys probably don't know this, but women are like 8 times more likely to blow out their MCLs. Women's knees in soccer problem. Okay. Okay, let's look at this. Okay. This one's called Why ACL Injuries Are More Common in Female Athletes Than Their Male Counterparts. Let's take a look at this real quick, because I'm only going to be on for like another 15 minutes. But let's look at this real quick. And make sure to like the video and subscribe. I really appreciate you guys being here. This is kind of dry because I was doing an article review, but I liked that article. It was great. It was fantastic. Woman saying, look, don't ask the men to help you when you were key in taking away male spaces. So this says, okay, what? Okay. As the World Cup kicks off, many of the big names in women's soccer are notably absent from the international competition because of knee injuries, specifically ACL tears. It's part of what some are calling an epidemic among female athletes from the professional level down to youth sports. Okay, these are all different times when people blew their legs out. But anyway, it doesn't have the stat in it. But anyway, let me see if I can find the stat real quick. Hold on real quick. But yeah, I think it's like 10 times more. AJ's here. Good to see you. Let me see. New York Times, I hate you because you make people pay for your stuff all the time. No. Okay. Okay, here we go. Here is a basic breakdown as to why women. So this shows that biology matters. Soccer is widely regarded as the most popular sport globally in terms of both audience and participation. Since the passage of Title IX in 1972, the number of females participating in sports in high school has increased tenfold. Over 3 million girls now participate in high school sports each year. There are over 3 million youth soccer participants in the United States. New Hampshire has 19,000, blah, blah. Unfortunately, most female soccer players know someone who has experienced an ACL injury. Female athletes have 4 to 6 times increased risk of ACL injuries than their male counterparts. 4 to 6 times increased, guys. And it's because of their physiology, the way their hips are shaped. It says, unfortunately, most female soccer know someone who has experienced an ACL injury. The risk of ACL injury is unusually high in women's soccer. The increased risk of ACL injuries than males in cutting sport, and overall, girls are 8 times more likely to suffer an ACL injury than boys. In the United States, as many as 80,000 high school female athletes experience ACL injuries each year, you guys. With most ACL tears occurring in soccer and basketball, the incidence of ACL tears in females peaks at the age of 16. Yikes. Year-round female athletes who play soccer or basketball have a 5% chance of tearing their ACL each year as they participate in their sport. If an athlete returns to playing soccer, there's a higher risk of further ACL injury, 30% to either the operative or non-operative knee. There's no secret that men and women are built differently. The reasons for females being more at risk for ACL injury has been extensively studied. The increased risk for injury appears to be associated with many factors, guys, wait for it, including a narrower endocondylar femoral notch and a smaller ACL, an increase in natural ligament laxity, slower reflex time, an imbalance secondary to greater quadriceps strength and hamstring weakness, fluctuation in estrogen levels, and the tendency for females to land flat-footed. It's all biology, guys. All biology. 70% of ACL injuries in female soccer players are non-contact and primarily involve one of 2 mechanisms: running and cutting sharply with an erect posture, or landing with a leg extension on one leg. Biology, guys. Anyway, I'm going to sum this up. Guys, I'm to the point now where, you know what? Women, they were so inclusionary. Now they have this problem. And you're going to see more and more of these women begging and pleading for men to do something about trans women in their spaces. If you don't know them, who cares? And it sucks, but guys, they're not going to listen to you. The only women that are going to listen to you are the ones in your personal life. And even they don't listen half the time. So, all right. Well, this is Doug MPA. Thank you for watching. AJ, Reggie Gamer, Kim for Julian. And looking for, I'm going to try to go live every single Sunday. So make sure to check the community tab for the lives. Like and subscribe, and I will catch you on the next one.